Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm all man raptor, and we got one hell of a guest today, and boy, don't you know it. And you are.
I'm Phrozen. What's going on, y'all?
Yeah,
Hey.
yo, Phrozen.
Thank you
Hey,
very much.
Phrozen, man.
Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah,
we
it's
appreciate
awesome
it,
to.
Phrozen.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's cool to be here. And I'm
Cool.
really looking forward to this. Heck yeah.
Oh, so what are you most known for? How'd you get started and get into the platform, may I ask?
Well, it's a long story, but now I'm currently known for doing a lot of music stuff and singing and playing guitar and doing a lot of open mics and just being in the music community now. So, yeah, I'd probably say that.
Oh, okay. So how'd you get into VRChat, and what between you starting led you to doing music and performing?
I think like the quickest answer to that would be I'm a software engineer by trade. I'm a nerd, which is kind of funny enough. But I got into the platform with an Oculus DK1, which nobody remembers. You know what I mean? And it's like one of those things that didn't even have like the position tracking. It just like had the head rotation. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I had it. I was doing like a client piece for Audi actually at the time, which is totally fine to talk about and say whatever. But this is eons ago, and I had it and it wasn't working. And I was like, Why isn't this stuff working? And I actually wrote my own drivers to make it work with Windows 7 and 10 at the time, and got it working. And I was like, "What is VR chat? Like, what the heck is this?" And I remember popping into it 2018. I was in a black cat, and I was sitting at the bar. I'm like, "This is crazy!" Like that was like the apex of the Ugandan knuckles. And I'm looking around. I'm like, "This place is actually ridiculous." And I remember taking off my head. I'm like, "I don't know what the heck that was about." And then I didn't touch it for like 2 years. That's the funny part. And then I don't know. Yeah, I just got bored with during COVID. COVID happened 2019, 2020, and I was like, man, I can't go out to bars. I can't, hang out with my friends, and pretty introverted. So I figured, I'd pick it up, and yeah, I got into that, and then just upgraded all my stuff. And I think the transition into music was more of I wanted to have like new value in the game. You know what I mean? I wanted to meet like-minded people, creative people, people with great voices, or just interested in music. I think, and it really kind of changed my entire perspective on the game later on. And I know you and I were talking about this before, but it's like really kind of wished I started doing that way earlier. You know what I mean? But we're here. It is what it is.
Phrozen. What was the weirdest thing you ever saw when you first started into VR?
Ooh. Well, yeah. I'm trying to think about something PG. I think one of the craziest.
PG.
Yeah.
PG. Wow, folks, today
Yeah.
we're going to do a situation on a PG situation, and that's not going to work
Yeah.
worth a fuck. So, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think one of the craziest ones, and it was like kind of like when I got my mind blown open the first time in VR. I saw my first particle avatar, and it was like those old school cat ones, and I can't remember the name of it. It's got like the wide mouth and like the big ears on it. If anybody else knows what I'm talking about, cool.
Popcat?
But I remember. No, not Popcat. The little wobbly thing. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, not that one. No. This is no, not Popcat.
The little wobbly
Can you imagine?
thing. I like how he puts that. The little wobbly thing. Okay, Phrozen. Gotcha.
That's not what I meant. Anyway, it was like back when people were crashing people with particle guns and stuff like that, pew pew and all that stuff. And anyway, they had this like gigantic avatar, and it had like just this crazy. You can like walk into the avatar, and it was like a universe, and like the star systems were in it. I'm like, where the heck did where am I? That kind of stuff. That was probably the weirdest thing to like experience if you're not like used to it, like you're not expecting it. And then yeah, it's just like kind of opened my mind of saying like there's more to this game than just like, a Halo avatar with a hat on, you know what I mean? Like there's something in here.
Gotcha.
Okay. So let's start with this question. From when you first started, made you want to put the headset down for a couple years. Now that you're here where you're at now, how much has changed from what you saw that made you walk away to what's keeping you here now?
Oh wow. that could be a loaded answer, I think. But for the sake of time and like not boring people,
Go for it.
honestly,
Go long in depth. Please don't worry about length.
okay,
Yeah, we don't care. It's all
yeah,
yours, bud. We're watching.
yeah.
Well, we're
Yeah,
listening
so
and watching.
heck yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk about a bunch of like nerd stuff. People will be like, next vid, that kind of stuff. But I can kind of concatenate it and kind of package it to like a non-technical person or whatever. But I'm into software engineering, and what made me put it down was I kind of got bored out of the whole like DK1 thing. I just didn't get it when people were like, still in desktop. It was kind of like Mimi back then, and like I never did the Uganda knuckle things. Like I thought it was kind of funny for a hot minute. I'm like, that's getting old real quick. And then everybody remembers when Uganda Knuckles just like fell off a cliff. We was like, dude, are you still doing that? Like, yikes. And I had my cliff like the second week of dealing with it. And Black Cat's just like 20 of the dudes just running around like I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I put it down. Yeah, so I put it down, and yeah, I'm a software engineer, so a lot of just digging around in GitHub and stuff like that. And the original person that made the Udon Sharp package before it actually got into VRChat, I actually took down, and I was actually doing a bunch of C#, just like kind of playing around with Unity stuff at the time. So that was pretty cool, doing like programmatic stuff and like conditional stuff for the first time in like an actual language based situation, which at the time I was like really into. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I met a lot of really cool people out of that. I'm not going to mention the worlds, but they're still on their popular lists and stuff like that. But yeah, and I kind of got interested back into it. And then through that, I was talking about just like the up and emerging technologies at the time. And some dude had a haptic vest on. I've never seen one of those, like, like those vests with like 30 points on their chest. And people were like, punching him and like laughing, like, oh, he's like, stop, like that kind of stuff. I was like, what the heck? And that turned into, I'm like, wow, maybe I should upgrade my headset. You know what I mean? And upgraded the headset to a Rift, and then Rift went into an index, multiple indexes, and then the index now ended up into a Vario Aero, and I got into mill sims and flight simulation and full body for this fun stuff. I did a little bit of mocap with it, which was actually kind of cool. If you actually, then it's like some mocap stuff. So, yeah.
Oh
I guess
wow.
that's an answer there.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
So how has your experience with like building the languages and what you experience now is keeping you here from what you first experienced, Mast?
Oh, it's grown. Like it's completely different now. Yeah, when it first started off, I remember importing and dealing with Udon Sharp for the first time in Unity, and was very kind of archaic. I shouldn't say that because that's a diss on it. But there's a lot of things that just needed to be ironed out, But it was going in the right direction, and it like literally hit a ramp, like to the ceiling. I was like, whoa! And all of a sudden, I started seeing these worlds do some crazy stuff. I remember seeing the what was it in that one world? Oh, it was the first AI character in Just Be Club, like the first version of it. And I was talking to Blue at the time, who's the original owner of that world or whatever. And he's like, "You don't understand. Like this is gonna blow up." I'm like, "Dude, like it's blowing my mind right now. Like I can't believe there's somebody running around." It's like I literally thought I was talking to the person at the front desk. I'll never forget this. I was talking to her. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And they're like looking around. I'm like, "Can you hear me?" I'm like, I'm doing a mic check, and like somebody behind me, you're like, "Hey, idiot, your your microphone's fine. It's a bot." I'm like, "What do you mean it's a bot? What do you mean it's a bot? What do you mean, man?"
Goddamn female, don't fucking answer me, man. I'm out of here. Oh man, you're talking to a bot, dude. No. I bet I can imagine. I wonder how many people in actual setup actually ran up there when that first.
You met
came out
one.
and started
Dude, you met
talking.
one of them.
Well,
You met
besides
one of them,
you,
man. I am one of those guys.
Dude.
I am one of those guys, dude. I totally did.
Okay, I said how many, not just one. The only one that went up there and made an ass out of himself, sitting there talking to the bot phone. God, I'd like to date her. She's sharp. She's really intelligent. Oh my gosh.
Well, Raptor, all I can say is there's at least one. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Okay.
It might be me.
Okay.
You know what I
At
mean?
least one.
Yeah, it's all good.
Wait a minute. You tried to date her?
No.
You're just saying that. Oh, okay. I was just making sure.
No.
I want to make sure I was on the same page. Okay.
Oh.
Nah, man. No, it was just doing like a mic check because I thought because they weren't talking that was something was broken with my mic. You know what I mean? So I remember going down to my audio settings. I'm like, wait a minute, everything's working. And then some person, you're like, you idiot, it's a bot. I'm like, what are you talking about? And like I looked up and I was like, oh my God, like, mind you, yeah, I was not under any influence at that point either. Just,
Phrozen, how small did you figure I am compared to this that you were feeling then at that time? I'm just curious.
I'm not gonna respond to that. I'm not gonna embarrass myself.
Gotcha.
Listen, dude.
I got you, Phrozen. No problem. Just making it out there.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, and then it just kind of grew from their line, and you know, I got back into it, and then you know, up until recently, that new flight simulator world in this game, I was like, what? Like they have like AOA, they have like everything in there. Like it was just, I was like, this game is just shooting north. But yeah, vastly different is my answer with that kind of context, I guess.
All right. So when you said that when COVID happened around, you came back into it, and eventually you led into doing music. How did you find the music scene of VRChat, and what was your first few instances with it?
Yeah, good question. First instance was just the open mic world, right? And I think one of my friends were actually like accidentally in there. You know what I mean? They're like, "What is this world? Like, what are we doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, an open mic world? Like, are you serious? There's actually people like playing like actual instruments? Like, how the heck did they like? How the heck are they figuring this out? Like, you know?" And like my mind kind of like blew open. You know, you dangle a carrot in front of a donkey. Like, I'm gonna chase that thing for a little bit. I got to figure this out. And there's two people doing comedy that night, and they were really good. And I remember laughing my, you know what off. I like my laughing my tail off. I was like, this is something. You know what I mean? And then like four owls. Remember that owl avatar? I think it's like a fallback or whatever else with the big eyes, like the yellow eyes or whatever. They're like super small. Anyway, they all did like a musical or whatever else, and they're all like singing and dancing. And I just remember laughing with my friend. I'm like, oh, I'm coming back here. I went down to my world, favorited it, and I just like periodically went back in there, like when I was just like, hey, like what's going on tonight, you know? And yeah, that's how I got into it, and then how it led into music. You know, I don't know. I just started doing this last April, so April 2024. I was in the Midnight Munchies group. Somebody invited me in there a year prior, and I was just like kind of sitting in the background a little bit, and just like being part of the crowd and just like, really enjoying the performances, and joined on their Twitch. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a serious deal. This is a lot of work, like a lot of production and a lot of effort goes into this. I was like, you know, and then I don't know, I got this itch. I'm like, you know, I got a piano, you know, like, because not a lot of people know. I actually have, like, I've been playing piano since I was like 8, and I didn't pick up guitar until like 2 years ago. Like, I didn't know what the heck I was kind of doing with it. Like, I've like strummed a couple things, but I didn't do anything like kind of technical, and definitely did not sing until 2024 of last year. That's for darn sure. That was just like not the way I was raised. Like, you know, whatever. That's a long story too, but we're not gonna go into that. But yeah, last year I was just like, I just had this case of the, you know, the F-its, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get up there. What's the worst that's gonna happen? You get booed, you take off the headset, and you just kind of go from there. So I did it. I think I remember my first song. It was "Goodbye Charlie's Got the Blues" by Danny O'Keefe. Nobody knew the song, and then I I quickly understood like Frozen probably would be nice and beneficial to like play songs that people actually knew. I was like, yeah, it probably would make sense. But
what the hell is he playing? Oh my God, I am lost. I've never heard that shit before. I wonder how many people come up to you and asked you what the hell you were playing. I'm curious. How many people asked what it was?
Yeah, well, that night when I sang it, they were like, I didn't know the song, but you did it pretty good. I'm like, okay, kind of bad, but kind of good at the same time. So I felt like it was 50-50. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, all right, just gotta learn something that people know. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's how it kind of turned into it, and then it just literally snowballed. I met so many really cool people. Probably around like starting around like last July, and it just like hit this crazy ramp out of nowhere. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you what the pivotal moment was, but I just started getting into different open mic worlds. I met dozens, if not at this point, hundreds of different other performers, which is awesome. And then I just started getting addicted to like meeting other people that were into music. And it really, like I said before, like I really wish that I started doing this before, because nerding out about music with other musicians is like it. I'm smiling just like my cheeks hurt, but like I'm smiling right now just thinking about it. It's just really cool to sit in the same virtual space with somebody and be like, hey, yeah, like, did you ever done, like Mary Jane in a C major versus that, you know what I mean? Like just like transposing stuff, and like, you ever
Mm.
done like, Brown Eyed Girl and an A minor before, just make it absolutely depressing, sound like a funeral, you know what I mean? Like, it's like actually kind of cool.
Brown Eyed Girl at a funeral. Oh my God! Wow, we have
Brown
here
Eyed.
we have Frozen here today. He's gonna sing at our funeral, and he's playing Brown Eyed God, Brown Eyed Girl.
Dude, you'd be surprised if you ever heard that song in like a minor, like a B minor and A minor. You're like, oh my gosh, somebody died. She died, didn't she? Like, oh my gosh, this is tragic. Yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
Okay. To be
Do you
quite,
know who the chap was? Nope. Sorry, he just died. I don't know who he is. I'm just here to sing for him.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Hearing you sing for the first time a couple of months ago, it sounds like you've been doing it forever. But you said you've only been doing it a year or two.
Fuck
Like
yeah.
music guitar, it sounds like you've been doing it since you were born. I'm gonna be honest.
I got a kick out of it when he turned around and he was on the stage when we were listening to him. He goes, "Yeah, it's just a cheap piece of shit guitar I picked up." I going,
Oh
"What? And you
yeah.
make it sound like that? How cheap? Oh, it's only about, on stage he's telling you, oh, it's about an $80 guitar." I go, "What the hell did you go to a pawn shop and go, hey, I like that piece of shit. I want it. Let's restring it." That's the only thing that come to mind when you said that. And I'm going, what? I was just
Yeah.
bopped. And it was pretty cool.
That's a great story. I think I told the story. I think it was that night or the night after how I got that guitar. It was literally that day, and it was an old lady. I was driving back from getting my groceries, and it was like literally she had like a table. It's like it had like a table that said free on it, and like I saw the guitar. It was like a classical nylon or whatever else, and there was a big cardboard sign that said $40, and I was like, oh, I've always wanted to have one of those. You know what I mean? Because classical guitar. Like I've never heard nylon strings before. They call them gut strings. It's kind of gross, but yeah, they used to make sheep intestines or whatever. I did not string my guitar with gut strings. They are plastic strings. But
He's over here hey, you got a sheep out back, and I'm gonna gut your sheep and make sure I got my strings. I gotta drive out first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. No, funny story about that. But so I pulled a U-turn and I came back, and this lady must have been about 85, 90, and I guess it was her grandson's or whatever. And not for nothing. I guess he passed away for whatever reason. She's like, oh, $40. I'm like, ma'am, I'll give you 60. She goes, well, you really? I'm like, yeah, I'll give you $60 for that thing. And I took it home, and it's got like half of a broken neck, like where it connects to the body's all messed up. I was like, maybe this actually is a $40 guitar. Damn it! I was trying to do the good thing, you know what I mean? Like whatever.
Yeah,
But
just being,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So took it back, and yeah, I went on down to a music shop that night, got some nylon strings strung up, and tuned it up to open C tuning, which is that night when I was singing those songs. Open C tuning is crazy. It's so fun, so fun. So yeah.
Oh
Yep,
wow.
yep, yep, yep,
Okay,
yep.
so what is that? So what is that? I've never heard of it called that. What? Most time everybody tells me it's just stringing a guitar. I've never heard of it put that way before.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different tunings that you can like obviously tune a guitar to. Open C is basically like think of it this way, like if you're playing like a piano, like do you know like the notes on a piano when you're like playing it from like C all the way to like the C, like doing like an octave?
Hmm.
Ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's basically the same notes. So, C, D, E, F, G. You can round it out with another C on top, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But there's open D tuning, which is kind of cool. But yeah, typically it's just C, G, C, what is it? G, C, E, I think is on the high note. But you can play basically bar chords, and they're full, you know, full ooga boogas. You know what I mean? You can just like, if like half notes and full notes, like you can just play anything you want in the middle of it. But it's super low. I think the thing I got really kind of interested with that tuning and stuff, especially with Wilson's stuff, which you guys heard that night, and like me getting infatuated with his voice and stuff like that. And we'll go into that for a little bit if you guys want. But
Sure, go for it.
it's just yeah, it's just
Mhm.
it's super low. It's a super low tuning. It's not standard E tuning, and I kind of wanted to do a little bit different things with that guitar, and I went over with Steve Wilson's music. I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. And he just changes the capo on it, and depends on the song. You know what I mean? Minus a couple of them he does with open E with a weird bad what is it, bad Abe tuning, which is wild, by the way. Yeah, BAD ABE, which is wild. Jose Gonzalez is another artist that does Bad Abe, and he does this song called Far Away, which is, if you guys haven't heard it, it's in Red Dead Redemption. It's probably one of my other favorite songs to play, but I have to like, it's a crazy tuning. Like you basically have that one guitar to play that one song because no other songs are in Bad Abe tuning. You know what I mean? But
I see.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, but last year, like I said, I had a case of the Effets, and I never sang playing piano growing up. I just played, you know what I mean? And I never used my voice with an instrument. I don't know what the heck just kind of snapped in me. I was like, I got to get, I always wanted to do it. I always kind of felt like just really envious of people that could do that at the same time,
Hmm.
and just kept trying to practice, and trying to figure it out basically. Yep.
Okay. So what before we go into your first instances of VRChat, I'll ask you what you said you played piano since you were 8. What got you playing with that, and what made you, what was your first instances of VRChat like after you hear that story? What got you into music?
Yeah, so I got into playing piano at like 8. It was like my mom wanted me to do something. I was the only boy of the family. It's like, I was kind of hyperactive as a kid, especially when you're dealing with 3 sisters, by the way. It's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, get the boy to do something real quick. Get his mind off of, ripping and tearing things.
Quit
Like,
beating on his goddamn sisters. You pick, Mom, he's picking on me, bullshit. Yeah, you know how that goes. Been there, done that.
well, well, in my situation, it wasn't like that, Raptor. I had 3 sisters, so they used to gang up on me. You know what I mean? So one of the reasons why I kind of accustomed me is like being introverted growing up. Especially in my early 20s, that was it was brutal. But I don't know. It's just played a lot of Beatles, a lot of classical, a lot of jazz music. Was in a high school band for a hot minute. It was awkward. Didn't know what the heck to do with a keyboard and whatever. A lot of for like the people that are a little older, but a lot of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Hey, anybody out there? You know what I mean? ELP. Yep. Synthesizers, and then I don't know. I hit high school. Chicks weren't really into keyboardists, so I was like, I should try to look at a guitar. And I remember playing the guitar for the first time, like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what am I doing here? Like, ugh. I didn't like it. But like I said, like I got into VR, and then I heard multiple people play the guitar. I heard multiple people play the piano, and it's so funny that my first instrument in VR wasn't piano, because you just assume that, like, listen, you'd go for something that you're comfortable with. I just thought it was, and this doesn't make any sense now, but it's like singing against a piano. I'm like, well, you only sing with guitar. It's like, duh. Of course you don't. You do it with both. It just depends on what you do. I just didn't know how to sync my hands with my voice, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
for the
Mm-hmm.
non-musician, that might make a lot of sense, I guess. But for the musicians out there, like, yeah, you gotta like kind of figure it out. You gotta. The only way you learn is by failing, and oh my gosh, I failed a lot. Oh yeah.
Okay. So since you've basically played guitar and sang at the same time in VRChat, what were some of your first shows like, and what were you expecting to be like? You getting a case of, you said, the Effets. What were you expecting versus what actually happened?
Ooh. You know, I saw I saw a couple people get like the snowflake emoji being thrown
Mm.
at them for the first time, and I remember sending that out to people too. When you just hear like a voice and you're like, "Oh my effing god!" Like there's somebody on this planet right now with, I call it the forehead toaster on, and they're singing like this. Like, are you serious? Like, what a beautiful voice. And I remember like putting value into that emoji, like, or like the money sign, or like, not obviously not the tomatoes, right? Like, we don't throw tomatoes, but
Or
yeah,
coal. They
or
throwing
coal.
coal at you.
Yeah,
Yeah, or coal. Or
yeah,
wait a
or
minute, wait a
coal.
minute. If you get really desperate for the situation, and you're not male throwing it towards you unless you're that way, you get the little thing that you're supposed to kiss under, mistletoe, and you get that thrown at you. Yeah, yeah,
Uh Yeah, you get the hearts. Yeah, I've seen some of the female like voices get lots of hearts and stuff like that when they're doing good. Anyway, so I saw that, and at the very I had to basically convince myself, having the case of the efforts, of saying, listen, it's probably not going to happen. And that was a hard thing to, like, I don't know, like going into a situation, that having that confidence, I guess, and having that kind of like backing of saying, like, listen, you have to be comfortable in the suck right now. You've never kind of like had to deal with this before to this level. And like, you got to be comfortable with just, listen, this is what I got right now. We're going to iterate. We're going to change. We're going to make it better to the best we possibly can. We're going to learn. And I was expecting it to go, pretty bad, honestly. And I think it went really effing bad. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was off key. I rushed the first song. A couple people threw a couple emojis or whatever else. But I remember, like, beginning that first, I was at the Midnight Munchies. I did do my first show at the Midnight Munchies. I did do that, 100%. And I remember shaking. Like, my foot was, like, shaking the entire time. Like bad tremors. Like, I couldn't, like, see straight. I had brain fog the whole thing. I was like, like, what am I doing here? Oh, dude. Like, the back of my head, I was like, listen, I could just click like the X on VRChat and just blame that I crashed. I could do that right now. You know what I mean? I was like, no, the case of the efforts kicked in. Yeah, the case of the efforts kicked in. I was like, we're gonna go through this. You're gonna endure how awkward it is. There's no parachute. You're gonna smack the ground or you're gonna float, dude. Like, this is what's gonna happen. So my expectations on that was, I kind of had no expectations, but I had to be really calm with being comfortable of, it's probably not going to go as well as you think it was going to be. You know what I mean? And yeah, so did that. A couple people had a couple emojis on that. I was like, okay. And I asked everybody when I started, I was like, listen, I'm just trying to get some criticism here. It's the first time doing this. I'm just trying to learn on how to do this, and like maybe talked about people with some audio setups and like how you rig some stuff up, that kind of stuff. And my nerd kicked in. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take some notes about what people are basically doing, that kind of stuff. And what was the second part of your question? Because that was like the whole context. That was a good question.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
So what are some of the other shows you've done besides Midnight Munchies?
Oh.
And how did they go as well? Because I'm curious, if you did that in your first show, asking how did I do, how can I get better, how did the next ones go?
Hey everyone, it's DJ Gearbolt here with Ministry Promotions, and we invite you once more to GearFest. This is not just an event, it's a 4-day festival running from January 29th to February 1st, featuring an incredible lineup of 32 talented DJs and multiple hardworking communities. The party kicks off every day at 7:45 p.m. Eastern and runs until 3 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss a second. Join the Ministry Promotions group to secure your spot. But that's not all this year. We're turning up the love by partnering with the Red Cross to host a fundraiser. This incredible nonprofit has been a lifeline for the victims of the recent Florida hurricanes and the ongoing Los Angeles wildfires. Let's come together as a community to make a difference, inside and outside of VR. We couldn't pull this off without the support of some amazing collaborating teams, such as EOZ, PJKT, VRChat, and Lun from Virtual Market, with auxiliary support brought to you by Cybar, Black Tie Butlers, Hypothetical, and Legendary. And of course, get ready for performances by dancers from Ministry, Ascension, and Menagerie. Mark your calendars, tell your friends, and bring the energy. This is one event you do not want to miss. Let's make memories, raise support, and dance like there's no tomorrow. We'll see you there, and as always, cheers.
Yeah, so the second show went, I want to say like 10 times better than the first. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I took a void of time from the first one to the second one of like 3 months. I just did nothing but study music. I studied like just doing things purposely out of key and learning them in different kind of transpositions. I learned like fills, like the thing that people nobody talks about like when you play a song is like what do you do when you screw up? Like you have to have some sort of ability of like how do I save this without just bailing out? And that scares everybody. That scares every musician when they're doing a live set. Like your comfortability of like trying to recover is it's a pretty good like mental parachute, and that comes down to confidence. So I studied my absolute what off. Still listen to the Midnight Munchies. Did a couple more open mics on the open mic world. Actually saw a couple randomly at a Black Cat, but were miraculously not getting trolled at the time, which was crazy. So just random talent. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is kind of cool. And then again, I felt I was kind of prepared, and then like a couple months after that, I was like, we go again, and yeah, I did. I think it was Nutshell by Alice in Chains. I still do that song a lot, and it's probably like everybody's like, oh my god, you're Frozen. You do that Nutshell song. I'm like, yeah, it's me. That's like my most comfortable because I studied that thing. Like I'm not even kidding you. Like I probably listened to that song, not even joking, probably 60 times a day for like 3 months, and I slowed that thing down. I sped it up. I transposed it. I ripped out every single guitar segment like crazy. I just went like super granular because I didn't want to mess up my next one. Like I really wanted to be proud of it. And for me to mentally do that was to absolutely like try to nine-head it a little bit. And I got to a point where I was like really getting into Alice in Chains because of that song. I was like, oh my God, there's so many other songs. And then I studied the heck out of it and then went back to Munchies. And yeah, it went really effing good. I remember Manny at the time said he's like, so good. I remember him saying that to me. He's like, so good. Come on back, man. It's been a while. And I'm like, man, looking back at that, that's like every person that goes on an open mic stage needs to hear that. So I make it a mission, when I see somebody that's like fairly new, I'm like, keep on coming back, man. I got to hear more of that, like give them that positive affirmation rather than just the emoji, like coming up to them after when they get off the set, get out that high off the stage, like, I don't know how I did, and just passing it down because you will get better. It's just in time, and you got to give it time. And the way that you prioritize that is people, push you from the back sometimes in a good way, not in front of a train, not that crazy stuff, but they'll push you in the right direction, saying they'll push you in the right direction.
In front of a Make sure it's a steamer, man. We'll go. You don't want it going up too fast. It just takes its time and plows into you instead of the electric trains. Yeah, I got you.
Right. But you know what I mean? Positive affirmation, that kind of stuff.
Mm, okay. So did your confidence you gained with the following shows, did that come from you studying or the experience of you doing it over and over? And what did you do in order to study to get more confident in yourself?
Yeah, it's really good question tonight, Lion. Oh my gosh, damn. I think it's 50-50. You gotta, the payoff is performing, but the philosophy of always being a student regardless of your age is something that I knew before this. So I really had to put that into practice. And the only way you can get really good at something is really studying it. And like I said, like when I had said, I did a lot of like military simulation stuff and digital combat simulator. And if anybody knows that game, DCS, there's a lot of like startup procedures and everything else and flying. And that's actually how I got my PPL. Like dead ass actually have my IRL PPL. And I just, checklists, set things and repetition and just kind of practicing that. You got to be passionate about the procedures and you got to be passionate about the process. Everybody just looks for the end goal sometimes, but, I feel like you got to love always trying to be better first about, just feeling like this is how I win. It's like, no, you got to love the steps involved to get there a little bit. You got to be really, really passionate about it. So it's 50-50. But, the 50% is a huge percent. I think I would probably warrant in this. And that's the payoff, because some people would argue it's 80-20 or 90-10 or whatever else. I do 50-50 because when you study that hard, that payoff for me is equal as much as the amount of effort that I study, on some of these songs. And, it starts out that big and that much effort to get into it. And then after a while, you start understanding some patterns, you're understanding your bar chords, your transitions, your confidence goes up, how to roll your voice, how to change your voice. We can get into that in a little bit with the Wilson songs and stuff. And that's a lot of fun, by the way. That's something that's a completely new kind of strategy. But yeah, the payoff. And then you have a really good payoff. You're like, oh, yeah, like I feel effing good about this right now. You know what I mean? Like really good. But yeah, and then that just kind of rolls into, oh my gosh, that rolls into everything. You know what I mean? Like in terms of, what you think that you can do, what you think you can't do, what, having fun while you're doing it too, like different emotions, I think is pretty cool too. Like I always try to go into music with a positive attitude, but you really can't have a positive attitude every single time. So you really got to have, some days are better than others. You got to really push yourself through some songs for the sake of doing it. But hopefully I answered your question.
Oh, you
Maybe
most
not.
definitely
I don't know.
answered your question. So, you mentioned before that with the rolling your voice and you're singing for the last, like you said, 2024 is when you started singing. How is that different from learning guitar, and what kind of processes vary between the two and when you work with them?
Yeah. Well, you got to find some sort of voice, that that goes back into like my earlier performances. People, I remember hearing a couple people are like, "Oh my gosh, like yeah, you should try this song, or you do good with this song, or oh my gosh, it'd be really cool if you can try this, or I think you could play this, work on this on the vocals or something like that." And you kind of play with your voice a little bit, and it's also it's a complete kind of variable thing, like warm ups, which is a new thing for me. I just thought like stick a microphone in front of somebody's face and they can just belt out an opera sing, like, or an opera kind of performance. Is not the reality that anybody has, that when they do that kind of stuff, like there's a warm up procedure. You know what I mean? They gotta get it, gotta get those things warmed up a little bit. So you go from just singing a song and like a voice that you think that you're very comfortable with, and then yeah, like Spotify Discover Weekly. I just blame that. Steve Wilson came across, a lot of country came across. I was like, oh my gosh, that guy's got it. Jamie Johnson's In Color came across. That was a break one for me. It was a big one for me. I was like, I gotta get that voice down. Like, oh my gosh. I remember mowing my lawn. I had my AirPods in just because my lawnmower's on. It's like singing in the shower or singing in the car. There's nobody else around. Just screaming the lyrics to Jamie Johnson In Color. I'm like, F yeah, you know what I mean? Like the whole thing, dude. And like from that, yeah, sorry, go for it.
I'm over here joking. I can imagine a guy driving down the road, right? It's all of a sudden you see this guy on a riding lawnmower screaming, and everybody's looking around like, where the fuck is he yelling at, man? Who the hell is he yelling at? Is he yelling? What the hell? Is there something in the way? Did you hit a rock or a pothole or what? I'd stop the car just to listen to the lawnmower and him sing along, just to see what the fuck was going on. What the hell? I would. I'm that kind of person, man.
So I have a story about that.
Oh,
I have a story about that.
Go ahead. I want to hear this.
I have a story about it. It wasn't Jamie Johnson, but I will finish the answer on that. But this, you did spur. So I wasn't mowing my lawn. I was blowing my leaves because it was the fall, and I was singing it was "Oh Me" by Nirvana. Same thing. I had my backpack blower on, gas power, the whole thing, and I had my AirPods on, and I was leaf blowing my front yard or whatever. I was screaming this song. You know what I mean? And didn't even notice the mailman was delivering a package the entire time behind me. So I have the fucking the leaf blower on, my whole thing, and I still have the AirPods on. I remember taking off the blower to go grab my water, and I still singing all the way to the truck where I was gonna get my water from, and I turned around, and the dude was literally delivering a package on my porch, and I turned around, I'm like, oh. That dude literally just totally heard me screaming this song, and he kind of shot me a look. Yeah, he kind of shot me a look like, dude, you good? I'm like, I'm just feeling it today, man. You know what I mean? And I did this awkward like hi, and he just like quickly U-turned and like went back to his mail truck or whatever.
And Frozen was sitting there shaking his ass at the same time. That was probably what caught his dancing with the leaf blowers, singing away, man. Yeah, I'd love to see you drive by your house once in a while. I'll tell you that much.
Man. Nah.
Let's see what
Man.
the fuck's going on.
No, but you just like you just play with your voice. It's like doing like a you're just trying to imitate something like Kermit, like, oh, Kermit the Frog here, oh, like oh, Miss Piggy, like that kind of stuff. You just like kind of snap into something real quick. You say something funny in a voice, and I just got interested into singing like a person, and yes, Wilson just completely took over for a hot minute. Just like totally grabbed the steering wheel, and I got into different country stuff and did some Chris Stapleton impressions and impersonations and stuff like that when I sang with his stuff. And yeah, just if it's in my range, I'm like, ooh, it's got to grab me, like the song's got to grab me by the lyrics. I've been finding out I'm a really big person into like really, really meaningful like lyrics, and that's most of Wilson's stuff. Like you hear these lyrics, you're like, what the heck did I just listen to? I remember getting goosebumps. I'm like, if I did that in VR, gosh darn it, like that could make a positive influence on somebody's night, you know what I mean? So, and I did. I remember the first time I did that, it was like 3 times before I met y'all, and I did that, and people were like, what the actual F? I was like, oh, wow, I'm onto something, you know what I mean? I'm having a lot of fun, but like, they're like, that was beautiful, and like, I had the first person cry when they listened to me. I was like, that was kind of cool, but also kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, cool in a really good way. Like, I mean, it's the power of music, but like, I connected with somebody I didn't know. Like, I wasn't even friends with them on VRChat. They were just like, listen, I'm going through a tough time. And his lyrics, lost their dad or something like that. And I was like, yeah, these lyrics are perfect. It's the power of music. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really cool that you can deliver something from the real, I mean, I shouldn't say the real world because it technically is still the real world, but from somebody else and bring it into a completely different platform that actual artist has no idea what's going on in here, which is actually kind of crazy, and still, kind of promote their music in some way, but be able to make that person kind of connect with it. And they're like, and then of course, like after the time that I'll play it, they're like, I've been playing that album on repeat. You did a really good job. I'm like, heck yeah. And then I get that positive affirmation. You know what I mean? So yeah, there you go.
Frozen.
What's up, man?
When me and Ryan watched you on stage and stuff like this, I noticed that when you perform, you put a little bit of an act in it. Is that something naturally you just do, or is it just something that you just being yourself and just having fun while you're up there situation?
That's a great question. I think that's me fighting the demon of being nervous, and I act like that's a great question, Raptor. I'm so happy you asked that question, dude. Like, no, seriously. Like, they say laughter is the best medicine, and it helps people kind of get over some awkward situations sometimes. And like people laughing sometimes nervously is a thing. To answer that question, it's like, oh yeah, Frozen, when you go on stage, just act like nobody's there, or like act everybody's naked. First of all, can't do that. That's crazy, because my mind would be like, what? How the heck would a Winnie the Pooh avatar look naked? And then all of a sudden I can't.
You picked Winnie the Pooh? You picked Winnie the Pooh?
Hey, dude, he was there. He was huge. I'm like, they're like, just act like everybody's naked. So I'm like, and they were in the room. I'm like, I can't do that. That's crazy. That's a Disney character. Like, what? And then, of course, it's distracting me from playing. I can't sing. I'm laughing. Nobody knows why I'm laughing. I'm like, this is mentally, I'm not here anymore. You know what I mean? But
Winnie the Pooh. God damn, you got me laughing over here because the first thing comes to mind is, oh yeah, I see Winnie the Pooh naked, and then where's Piglet? That sick fucker's around here somewhere. That sick fucker's here somewhere. Oh my god.
Hey man, don't even worry about his honeypot. You know what I'm saying, dog? Like,
boy. I got that. Oh, here he goes. Oh, here he goes. Yeah. But still, wow, now I got tears in my eyes. Oh my god. Look out for the pot. Boy, he's digging deep to the bottom of that pot. Gosh. Yeah, we know where you're going, Frozen. But
no, to answer that question, it was more of it's me acting. It's not like acting like, number one, nobody's like there, because obviously I can't, and I can't act like everybody's naked because like that, right? Because we're all laughing right now. I can't do that stage. The third thing is I have to act like everybody in the room is my friend, and I talk like everything like you're talking. This is like it's like your bit or whatever else. This is literally how I act IRL. This is how I act in VR. This is how I act when I perform. And I feel like mentally the consistency pulls me through the songs, and it helps me it's rate limit my nervousness. You know what I mean? It kind of just all right. We're all friends here. You know what I mean? Like it's all good. Yeah.
All I know, Lion, is when I go to his performance the next time, I'm gonna make sure. I hope you're not looking at me naked. I hope he does. Don't do that, because that's gonna be scary and it'll put you in mind and state of going, oh my God, I gotta get off
No,
of here. No, I don't
Raptor.
hope you never.
Next time you go to his performance, you need to go in a Winnie the Pooh or Piglet avatar and just stand there quietly, staring at him.
Okay, just stand like quietly in the corner. Everybody's gonna know what. Raptor, why are you in a?
No.
What is wrong with? I'm just here for Phrozen, just to help him out. I'm just here to support him the best way I can.
I don't even know what I would do if I saw you there in a piglet avatar. Like I'm thinking about, because you're about the size of a piglet, right? Like he's about the size of a piglet.
Yeah, I'd be piglet.
Wait.
You know what I mean?
I'll wear the Winnie the Pooh avatar.
Okay.
You gotta go as Piglet, and we'll change
Piglet.
midway to his performance to see if he can catch him off guard.
Oh my gosh.
And yell, you're my hero. I'm not naked. I'm not naked. I got clothes on. You're my hero.
Oh man.
Oh Lord.
You guys are too much, man. You guys are way too much. This is so good. This is so good.
So I do have a question for you. It's kind of a dual point. First is, what was some of the harder things to do or learn in the process of you wanting to play music for people here in VRchat? And what was also the moment in which you felt like this is what I want to do, or why? What made it feel real in that second?
Yeah, the hardest thing was, trying to figure out like how I'm gonna wire it up to the likingness of what I deem like what I think sounds good. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of picky with what I personally think that sounds good, and I really wanted full control over every single medium, but at the same point I wanted to keep it simple. It's like the KISS method: keep it simple, silly, or stupid, or whatever, right? So
keep it KISS means keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, you had it right.
There you go. One of those.
My dad used to say that shit all the time. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. They call me an old soul. I learned a lot of my shit from my grandfather. Not whatever. I got a bunch of quotes from my granddad. But that's what he used to say all the time. And that was probably the hardest because, if you're not privied into it, like somebody was like talking to me like, oh, just use voice meter banana. And I'm looking at this, even as a software engineer, I'm like, there ain't no way I'm going in here looking at that and being like, oh yeah, 1 second, boop, boop, boop. Like, it's like, nah, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not, like, I want to hit stuff with my feet. And ultimately, if I, potentially someday want to move this rig onto an actual stage, I'm going to have to learn how to do this and like move this to an actual stage, right? So that was my goal that I kind of put through the process, because I want to buy stuff just for VR. So that was hard, like trying to figure out what that was. And then to your second point, it was more of like, where can I grow from this, right? So it's like, I do all this great stuff in VR, having a lot of fun. It's a really great, distraction, and I get to play music again, which is super healthy. Laugh a lot on stage, crack some absolutely abhorrent, stupid jokes that I think are funny. You know what I mean? But, kind of add back into that. But ultimately, like, can I work on something that, potentially if VRchat just disappeared tomorrow, can I still walk away from this experience knowing that I practiced something that could be beneficial for somebody else that I knew IRL, right? And that was the whole big thing. I was like, yeah, like I could, everything I'm doing right now that I'm practicing, I'm working on, is something that I could literally, like, my parents come up or whatever else, I could grab a guitar right now and show them like what I've been banging on. You know what I mean? And to your point, Lion, I actually recorded some stuff around like September for 2 of my sisters. And I remember tossing them across like some iMessage stuff, and they couldn't fucking believe. I'm sorry, they couldn't believe that I was singing. They're like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "That's me." They're like, "You sing now?" I'm trying, and I didn't know how to take that feedback. I'm trying. Listen, I'm just trying to do what I'm doing. They're like, oh my gosh, you need to do this, this, this. So to your second point, it's like it kind of shifted in both dimensions. You know what I mean? It was pretty wild. And then we just talked at the Jingle Bell Jam. So 2024 was the year, to answer your second question again, to practice. I devoted 2024 on the side to practice music, get comfortable to a point, and then 2025 was a year was I'm actually going to do like my first open mic IRL, and I literally just did that on Tuesday this week.
Oh
Like,
wow!
not even kidding you.
How'd it go, and how'd it
Yep,
compare
yep.
to experiences here in VRChat since you started here? What was it like?
Well, it went way worse than it did on VRChat. Yeah, it was, dude. Yeah,
he just went
no
from
X
one
button.
extreme to another. There's no
Yeah,
X
yeah.
button.
There's no X
Oh my
button. You
God.
can't. I mean, I guess I could run out the door, but then like people were like, "Is he good? Like, what the heck happened?" You know what I mean? It was it's again, it's like facing that demon. It's just like, making sure I don't got that demon like in the driver's seat. It's in the back seat. You know what I mean? Like whatever happens, I had to literally replay my first, set that I did at Munchies. Like, listen, this could go terrible, this could be good, but the outcome is going to be positive. And that is, listen, you got to learn. You got to be confident. You got to be calm. All this other whatever. And I think I rushed my first song, but the monitor didn't have my voice feeding back because the sound guy messed up. So I could kind of hear my voice, and apparently it sounded okay. But if I had like right now I have my headphones on, like if I can actively hear my voice, absolutely would have felt a little bit more confident about that. But I'm also kind of happy about being uncomfortable now, and that's a good thing. Like being uncomfortable sometimes, is a good thing. Like if it went perfectly in my mind, I would have been like, okay, so there's nothing to achieve here. I just hit the apex and that's it. I'm happy that I walked away knowing like this could have been better. This could have been better. This could have been better. This maybe some setup stuff, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it went really well. I think the same thing happened IRL that it happened with VR, and that is like multiple people came up to me when I was grabbing a beer after, and they're like, "Listen, there ain't no way this is your first open mic," and that was like the best. Like I puffed my chest. I'm like, "Get the hell out of here!" They're like, "I've been doing this for 20 years." I'm like, 20 years, and like, I was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Like. They're like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years. You got to keep coming back, man. With the same thing like Manny said, man, you got to keep coming back, man. You gotta do this again. I'm like, this is crazy. And like, you're in the flesh, so it feels different. Everything's dip. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if this guy's just being overly polite or if he means it. And I was like, I'll take that as an antidote. Be whatever. And then there was a girl that did this absolutely crazy cover in Evanescence, just absolutely like blew me away with her voice. And she came up. She's like, "You have the perfect voice for some XYZ blah 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 blah." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" They're like, "Oh my gosh, no, seriously, like, oh my gosh, when you come back," and she goes, "Not if, when you come back, you're doing this." And completely detached from this dude that came up for me before, because that's how my brain goes. I'm like, maybe she knows him or something like that, whatever. It was just cool. It was yeah. There you go.
Oh, so. Would you go back, and do you plan on doing that song that she suggested?
Yeah. So yes and yes. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with VR, and I'm using VR for that just as like a tool. And I've always used kind of VR. It's just kind of sound kind of weird, but even during like COVID, I used VR as a tool to work on my introversion to be more extroverted, and then I used VR to do some virtual sets to get comfortable with virtual sets. And now I'm going to use VR, and the back of my mind is using VR to kind of like pummel, the IRL stuff. So I did take a yield of time on my first set of Munchies. Like I said, it was like 3-4 months. So I'm not going to be back there anytime soon. I got my notes mentally. I know, the kind of confidence I'm going to need to be in the flesh for that stuff. And yeah, I think I can pull it off. I think pretty sure I can pull it off. It's Deftones Change, by the way, if anybody's asking. So it's gonna take some work. So should be cool. I love that tune too. I was like, oh my gosh, I love Deftones. Yeah.
During that, two things we were told by two separate people. First of which is a performer, I believe it was Winsnake Singh, said, "If you ever go up on stage and you're not nervous, something's wrong." is the first thing that hit my mind is what he said. And he said, because you're not going to improve or get better if you're confident that everything's going to go well. With that nervous and anxiety, you're going to try and push the very best thing. I'm paraphrasing horribly, so don't yell at me. But in a nutshell, that stress and anxiety will push you to do a better thing. And then also as a comedian as well, said a similar thing. Also, funny enough, from Punchline, said a very similar point. Two different venues of performers, similar note.
Yeah, it's I didn't know that was a. I guess it could be a. I guess it is a popular thing. Yeah, it's just it really comes down to just being confident with yourself and just being comfortable, but also like, you just mentioned like the Punchline, which I'm assuming is comedy, right? So
Yeah.
I think that was what you just said.
Yeah, it's comedy.
Yeah, I'm a little slow. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm a little slow, folks. Don't worry about it. But it's more of what do you do when a joke goes bad? Like if you ever bombed at a comedy place, have you ever said a bad joke and like how do you pull a U-turn? You know what I mean? It's the same thing, right? So it's like you're an artist, you hit the wrong string, what do you do? Nobody talks about this. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's like, yeah, just learn this song, you're gonna ace it. It's like, no, like, yeah, do your best, but like anything can happen. Like I've had multiple times my corgi will walk literally in front of me, like especially when I'm doing nutshell and I'm doing a hoo. He thinks I'm howling, so he gets right next to my legs and it kicks my pedals. And like I'll turn off the reverb out of nowhere and I just start laughing. I'm like, thanks, Conan. That's my dog, by the way. And I'll just keep going. You know what I mean? Like everybody's laughing and like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like you just gotta kind of like get used to like, the imperfections and being comfortable with knowing, like, to your point, like anything can happen. The confidence definitely pushes it forward, but it's probably not going to go as perfect as you think. You know what I mean? Like your voice can crack. You can do this, you can do that. You can do things in a different way. You can try things on the fly, that are completely different and really make yourself uncomfortable. Things that you didn't practice before, just to make it uncomfortable. Because in my personal opinion, you're not learning unless you're uncomfortable or failing at something that you want to get better at. Like to your point before, it's like if you're doing everything perfect the entire time, there's nothing else for you to basically recollect that you're learning. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, that's good stuff.
There's another quote I remember that a certain little tiny someone said, if you're not learning, you might as well be dead.
Yeah, well, that goes back to what I was saying before.
I'm referring to you.
You're the tiny piglet over there, dude. What are we talking about?
We gotta get stuff to put you in a piglet outfit, inflatable piglet outfit. I would love to see that.
Yeah, just for him. Fuck yeah, why not? Why the fuck not? Why not? Just to stand there and go, I'm one of your biggest fans, Phrozen. Sorry, I'm in a piglet outfit.
No, take a second.
Oh, Raptor. Oh, no.
Take a second and just imagine an inflatable piglet outfit with Raptor's face poking out the front of it, walking up to you while you're trying to seriously do a set.
I can see what we can do with the person that made this avatar. I can put a piglet outfit on. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, man.
With my cowboy hat on? Yeah, you know it. Oh, you ass. I can see Frozen looking at me. Him up there just pick, and all of a sudden I walk in and he goes, "You dick." You know what he's going to do. And second question.
I'll be like, why?
Second question.
Why did you do this to me?
Yeah, the other question I have for you, Frozen, is what kind of dog do you have, and is it an easy kind of dog to train?
So it's a corgi. His name is Conan. I used to have two, but Toby sadly passed about 2-3 years ago. But yeah, I love corgis. They are hideously intelligent. People have said this before.
Well, then all you got to do, Frozen, is just tell him when he's listening, if he's got as good a set of ears on him, just to know when to punch the system for you, so he can play along with you. If it ain't howling at the moon, but hey, what the hell? Give it hell. You never know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to, like, I mean, to your point. I mean, I get it. I totally understand that bit. But like telling a dog not to be like a pack animal is like, telling a chicken not to lay an egg. You know what I mean? It's like it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like he's like, no, something's wrong. My owner's howling. Like, oh, danger, danger. You know, like he's coming up. Poof, and like he's a Pembroke Welsh, but he had his tail docked at an early age. But I call it his, he's got some cake. Like it's a big ass. Like, and when he hits you on the leg, it like. I can really. I'm like, whoa! Like I'll just miss a chord. I'm like, whoa, what the heck? I'm like, if I'm on PC, that's fine. But if I have the forehead toaster on, I'm thinking like a guitar fell somewhere. Like I don't know. I'll forget that he's there sometimes because he usually just chills in his dog bed. But like, and then I'll remember. I'm like, okay, I'm doing that part of that song. He doesn't like that, or he thinks it's something wrong. I'll take off my knuckles. I'll be like, okay, dude, it's okay. You know what I mean? He's like, okay. I'll put him back over there or whatever. But yeah, like if I can get him trained to like operate the pedals, Raptor, to your point, listen, man, you might be onto something, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
Be
indeed.
interesting to see. Could you imagine over there telling? Yeah, I could see Phrozen turn around yelling at his dog, going, "God damn it, you missed the key! What the hell's wrong with you? It was supposed to be 3 seconds, not 4 seconds after the." Yeah, I could see that. That'd be fucking great.
Yeah. All you hear is one. I'm like, oh my gosh, Frozen's a terrible person yelling at his dog.
Yeah, he's yelling at his dog because he didn't hit the button. Yeah, blame it on the dog, like it ate your homework, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have another question for you. What's next for you in terms of like what you plan to do? Do you plan on writing your own music at some point? Are you just gonna do covers like you are now?
Yeah, so I've been working on 3 songs right now. So yeah, I've been picking on some lyrics. Yeah, I definitely want to get into writing my own stuff. I mean, it's always wanted to kind of do it with piano. I wrote a couple tunes in piano multiple times, and never really went anywhere. In terms of like, here's a chorus, here's a verse. I just like kind of riffed, and I was like, oh, that's a song, right? And it's like, no, not really. It's just you kind of doodling around on a keyboard for like 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So I'd love to do that, just to say that I wrote a couple ones, couple, maybe 3, 4. That'd be really proud. But I'd be really kind of happy if I did one that I was super proud of. It'll suck. I'll work on it. I'll change it, that kind of stuff. So I think that's the next one. I do want to incorporate like different instruments. I have a don't laugh at this. I have a foot tambourine that's coming in. I got a freaking cajon with a back kick pedal. I'm gonna get that all mic'd up. I'm really gonna try to make this like kind of really complicated, like overly complicated, like to a point where I don't think it needs to be that complicated, but that's me. You know what I mean? But again, this goes back to my flight sim stuff. Like you've got rudder pedals, you're using your left and your right hands. You're also talking on comms. So I think this might be like kind of, going. It's just a good challenge. So I think like a beat percussion at the same times with playing and singing would be, a really cool thing to kind of get comfortable with sometime soon. Maybe by the end of 2025 would be kind of cool. I think it'd be kind of a next. Just like absolutely just fist my my microphone there. Absolutely just Mike Tyson the hell out of that thing. I think that would be kind of cool. But also incorporating piano again, I think, just do like that full circle. Like, okay, dude, like, you know how to use your voice. Like, can you throw a piano behind it rather than a guitar? That kind of stuff,
Okay. So I do have a couple of questions. First of which, there are foot tambourines, and what's a cajon? I've never heard of a cajon. I thought of a calzone, and you said foot pedals. With that, I imagine a cord coming out of it with a foot pedal. It's like, sorry.
Calzone?
Yeah.
Zone?
Yeah, calzone.
It sounds like you're trying to feed him. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. You just go to your local pizza shop and you're like, listen, give me your biggest calzone. Your biggest calzone.
Hey man, can you make me a tambourine calzone? I want to know how it works. Okay,
listen,
no
dude,
problem.
you heard it here first, all right? Like I'm just letting you know, man. You know what I mean? It's gonna be the next.
I just want to know if you want to get your corgi involved and just have it where it's a foot pedal.
He's just gonna eat it. He's just gonna be eating the whole thing. He's like, listen, I started the song, but I couldn't end it because he ate the calzone. Sorry, guys, we're done.
You can't play it. You can't play the calzone.
Damn it, Conan! And then I'm gonna yell at him, and everyone's gonna be like, "Why are you yelling at your dog again, Frozen?" I'll be like, "Ah, Can't win this
He
now.
ate the kazoo and he wasn't playing it right. I don't know what the deal is.
Low key, I would love to see someone play a song with a calzone. I think that'd be pretty funny.
Same, dude.
My biggest thing is
Same,
Just
man.
imagine someone having calzone slapping or something as all the sauces and shit squish out while trying to play a song. Seriously, the dog's
imagine
looking
what that
up
would
the shit
sound
while we
like?
got him the calzone.
Slapping it and blowing on the end of it. That's the biggest thing, is blowing on the end of it, trying to get it to make a tune. That's what I want to know.
Can you imagine? Lion, give us your best calzone sound. Come on, like what would that sound like, dude?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's like anybody.
Yeah, what does that sound like?
Hey,
What does that sound like,
roasted,
Lion?
aren't you, bud?
I have
Come on,
the
come on, buddy.
faintest.
Give me a
I haven't the faintest fucking idea what a musical calzone would sound like.
Aw, man.
I'm gonna be honest. I can just imagine just a wet squish as someone slaps it like a tambourine or a drum. That's the only thing I can think of.
Oh,
my
that
gosh,
looked
I'm
good.
crying.
I got
I
my
gotta wipe my
kazone on a
tears.
stand and a pair of drumsticks, just beating the shit out of it, just going like crazy at it, watching the shit fly.
Some
And it's gone.
kid tries to play the calzone, and the mom comes back to his room with the calzone just obliterated with drumsticks in his hand.
But Mom, I
Yeah,
thought
the
it
only
was an
compliment.
instrument. I thought it was an instrument.
Frozen,
You
that
guys said it
sounded
was an
delicious.
instrument.
I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry right now.
Tastes
Oh my
great when it's
gosh.
pulverized. It'd be better off just putting it in a blender and listen to it chop it up. Yeah, that'd be about the same effect, wouldn't it? Oh my God.
No,
Baby food,
a cajon.
fast way.
a cajon, not a calzone. It's like a box, and it's got like it's usually got like metal wire on like the front of it that hits like it's a metal box with like an open on the back. It's got like, I mean, I could turn around and probably bang it for you. It's not gonna sound like a calzone, but it's really it's really
Wait a minute,
basic.
you were back. He's gonna go
Fuck
out
it, I'm
and
getting the
buy
damn
one and have
cajon.
it delivered,
Hang on,
so we
hold on.
gotta wait
No, keep
a couple
going. I'm gonna
hours.
get the cajon. Hang on. Let me see if you guys can hear this. Hang on.
I just want to see what it sounds like. You know,
Hey, here you
don't
go.
get me wrong, the instrument, but can you imagine him ordering and having
Yeah.
it delivered and
Oh,
trying to make it?
Could you hit that again? Could you hit that one more
Yes.
time?
Sorry. I was slamming it when Raptor was talking. My bad. This is a cajon. So it's got like a snare. Like I'm just like palming the thing. You know what I mean? You can do like light sounds to it. You can do tiny sounds to it, that kind of stuff or whatever. But it's like a bass drum. Put it that way. So like if you're a guitar player or you're singing, you usually are keeping tempo with your foot. Think of it that way. So if you have a kick drum pedal and you reverse it so it's kicking behind you and you're sitting on top of the box, dunk, dunk, like you actually have a beat and you don't even realistically realize that you're actually doing the beat, right? So kind of works out. A foot tambourine is like on the left. It like goes around your shoe. It's like sits on top, almost like a tracker in VRChat, right? But it makes a whole shitload of, hey, actually I have it over here. Hang on 1 second. I'm like like the Swiss Army knife, folks.
He just opens it up and starts pulling.
It's right here.
Hey, you ever seen this work?
That's all it is. Yeah, right there. So it's like got a little strap on it and stuff like that. You just put it around your other foot. So think about it like boom, you can do both at the same time. And like if you're playing and like you're strumming and you're singing, like it's kind of happens naturally. It takes a lot of practice. I never got one song where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be my breakout song with that. But that's what a cajon sounds like. A foot tambourine literally is what I just saw. It's like a smaller version of a regular hand tambourine, basically. But you just control it with your legs. You know what I mean? Like, you could do the whole thing. And then, like, you have to, like, coordinate your legs. Because you don't want to sound, like, basic. Like, you want to do your own fills. And then, like, but you're also playing and you're also soloing at the same time. And then you're singing on top of that. So it's, like, super nine-head stuff. You know what I mean? And some people just, like, it just oozes out of them. It's crazy to like listen to people that are really good at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how the hell are you orchestrating 4 ligaments and your voice at the same time and you're controlling the whole thing? You know what I mean? You got that confidence, So it's cool stuff.
Sounds like cool stuff. I wish you the
Frozen's
best of luck with that.
He can chew gum and walk at the same time. We've got that down to a science.
He could play the cajon and the calzone at the same time. I give him props.
I'm so hungry right now. I hate you guys.
Now you're making him hungry. Now he's gonna order
I'm
one.
so hungry.
I'm gonna order one just to find out. It doesn't make much sense except for when you're smacking it. Okay, got you. No problem.
Oh,
boy,
Lord.
that's what. No, I'm only kidding. Anyway,
you didn't even start the sentence. You said you're just kidding. We don't even know what you're kidding about.
Frozen, are you gonna have that setup where like using like a throttle cable setup where the foot pedals are in front of you and then everything else is off to the side, so it's not right up in front of you? Are you gonna do it like that?
There is an artist. It's another Steve. It's not Wilson. He's a solo guitarist, and he does that. He's got a kick drum in front of him. He actually, to answer this question quickly, no, I think I want to change my setup so I'm actually sitting on top of the cajon. I want to get kind of like used to that, like mic down there, mic on my voice, and then my guitar plugged in. I think that's what I'm gonna aim for. But to like kind of elaborate on this, like some people prefer that, right? So like have this set up in front of them, and I can't remember this other dude named Steve, but he does a lot of like solo outlaw stuff. He's got a kick drum, and he's got a snare with his left foot that he wired up with a cable system that you're talking about, and literally bangs the drumstick on top of the snare. And he doubled down, and he's got a guitar and he sings, but he doubled down because he wired a drumstick on top of his neck of his guitar for his cymbal, and the guy like dips it and he does it so well. Like I really wish I could remember his name because y'all have to like really like it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, like I'm not planning on doing that. I would be happy with just like sitting down, just doing the footwork, sitting on, the cajon.
Now wait a minute, Frozen. I just got to ask this question. You're going to be sitting on top of this drum, right?
Yep.
The only thing that came to mind when he said that is about the time he starts playing and all of a sudden farts and sound. They don't know what the sound is.
It resonates. It resonates through the cajon.
Resonates to the drum.
Wait, I got my reverb on. Wait. We'll do this real. Like that.
Yeah, but it'd be the drum vibrate. It'd be the drum vibrate. That'd be fucking hilarious as shit.
Oh no. No.
And people go, God damn, did you hear that beat? It was actually cool out, and his leg didn't even move. And he just keep playing. Nobody knew it. Nobody saw it. Nobody heard it. They just heard the vibration. Yeah, that'd be fucking sick.
The artist's name is Steve Hill, by the way. Steve Hill.
Steve Hill.
Steve Hill, not Steve Wilson. Steve Hill. And you can see, like, if you Google this guy's name, like I said, he's got it wired up to the neck of the guitar. I don't know what the heck the guy's doing nowadays, but he's damn good. Like, if you just listen to a couple of your songs, you're like, okay, cool, 3-piece band. It's like, nah, dude, like that's just one dude with what you're talking about, like wiring it in front of him. And he did his own tour recently and stuff like that, brought it all around. And think of it this way, it's kind of genius. You don't have to pay a whole band, you just pay yourself. Guy's kind of nine-headed in it, so cheers.
Indeed. Oh, so what do you use currently when you perform your music? What is your setup? What kind of software and hardware do you use? And how long did it take for you to develop your current system?
Yeah, so current hardware is it's a Harmony Singer, which takes my microphone in, and that goes from a line in on a Go XLR Mini for the vocals. So that kind of harmonizes some of my stuff, adds my echo, I can double down and that kind of stuff. That goes into 4 different pedals. It's all Boss stuff. So there's an equalizer, there's a compression, there's an octavate, there's OC5, which is like an octave thing I'm trying to get a little bit better, but it adds a little bit more depth and acoustic, which is kind of cool. And that goes finally into a reverb. Depending on how saucy I feel that night, I'll put it into my distortion pedal. But that goes up into the, did I say the line in for the mic? I meant that's in the mic in for the Go XLR Mini. And then the line in is my guitar. So everything gets into eventually the Go XLR Mini. I should say it's boosted. Oh, I'm sorry. The pedals are boosted by a Focusrite 2x2 or whatever. So that's 1/4 inch. That gets it down to the 1/8 inch, which is like, your headphone jacks. So that way I can kind of play with it on the fly outside of that device. And then that goes into my PC. But that's just like the hardware stuff. And then, I got my 4 guitars. So that I kind of mess with. It's, I got my $60 roadside special with the nylon strings. I got a POS that my buddy Chris gave me for a bar tab one night. It's an old Yamaha 365 something from the 80s. It's all beat up. But I have a couple songs that I do on that. I do a lot of my Alice in Chains and that stuff, open mic. And then my workhorse is my EP5, my Ibanez EP5. It's a Steve Vai's version of like a slim body acoustic, but it's really slim, but it's got like an electric guitar neck. So it doesn't have like a baseball bat. Like you can play it like an electric guitar. So it's super low action. I've been messing this thing like crazy. Got it finally set up. That's pretty cool, and that's powered, which is awesome. And then the one on my wall is my S470DX, which I rarely play because it's signed. How many guitars is that? 1, 2, 3, whatever. The last one is another POS Temu special. It's actually a fun little project. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. I saw some Temu ad once, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a relic Fender Strat body. Like, how cool would that be to have like a Strat, and like do some Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff like that. And I bought this thing, and it sounded like absolute garbage. I think I spent like $89 on this thing with the neck. And to be fair, it's a great deal. Like if you're getting into like guitar, $89 for that, it's like awesome. But like I couldn't stand the pickups, the pots or the knobs were all like scratchy. Like I was like, what the heck hardware is in here? So I immediately I spent like $89-$90. It took like what 60 days to get here from China because it was freighted. Like let's be all honest. Like I'm happy the guitar wasn't this small. It actually was real size too. So I felt like I won the lottery a little bit with Temu stuff sometimes. So I gutted it. I actually posted this on my Instagram. I took out all the electric stuff and I put in the pickups that I wanted with the whatever, and I finally got it restrung to the way that I sounded. But all in all, it's still a Temu special. It's all like relic looking and stuff like that. So I think it was like just under $160 to get that thing like all the way that I want. That's my gear, and then my microphone is just some freaking POS eBay special Audio Technica thing that goes into the Go XLR. Yep.
Oh wow, sounds like a lot of equipment for just recently picking up music, getting into. How did you learn to pick up and use all this stuff? And may I ask?
Yeah, great question. I mean, that goes back to what I was saying before. Like, I wanted to pick everybody's brains. You know what I mean? I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Or like when I heard somebody do like those performances and stuff like that, and have like the audio behind it, it's like the same person like, oh yeah, just do like voice meter banana or whatever. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, what can I do outside of that? They're like, well, then you're just talking all manual stuff. I'm like, give me that route. You know what I mean? Like, give me something I can move around, touch. You know what I mean? So I'm not like clicking around like 50,000 times before I do a song or whatever else, which arguably probably not realistic for a lot of performers using voice meter banana. But I just, in my head, I was like, if I really want to take this, on the road sometimes, like do an open mic, I want to be able to put it in a case, get it in a box, and just roll with it, So a lot of questions, a lot of YouTube, searching, a lot of just like, how do you record a guitar and audio into like a YouTube video, that kind of stuff, or how do you put it into Adobe Audition? How do you mix it? How do you do like very basic post production? Funny you say, one of my favorite, one of my best friends in this game, his name's Jacob. He's a really damn good audio engineer. I'm not gonna dox him or anything, so don't worry. But I remember doing my first recording, and I finally figured this out. To your point about like, how did you figure this out? I learned more about like the quality, but also like the pedal order that I should have, right? So I had my reverb, like this is how stupid I was. I had, it's because I didn't know. I had my reverb in the front of my line of my pedals, which is like a big no-no, apparently. Like you always put the reverb last, right? And I had my compressor and my equalizer pedals flipped. So it was compressing something going into an equalizer, and then the equalizer was basically like doing a bunch of different work. And then it was just totally messed up. And I told Jacob this, and he's like, dude, just try this for me. You know what I mean? Like, just try this Phrozen. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, dude. I was so excited to like get his advice and like take some notes, because I did. I'm like, this is like this is like, you have it, but like, how can we make it sound better stuff? And holy jeebus, it changed the whole thing. So to answer your question, asking friends in VR chat, more honestly than actual real life. Um, I know somebody that works down in Manhattan in the city, not going to name her business or whatever, but they were like, listen, like if you're getting a little bit more serious, like you definitely want to have like stuff that you can bring around with you in the event that somebody's like, you know what, dude, you need to get out of your house. You need to come down, have a couple of free beers, or whatever. And I'm like, his name's Eric. I'm like, Eric, I did you one better. I'm already doing that, man. I got pedals. He's like, perfect. What do you have? And I listed out what I have. He goes, and I'm just getting like tips about like what I should have bought, what I kind of overthought at the time, being an overthinker. I'm an engineer, so I'm, again, it's the same thing. Like, everybody's naked in the room. Like, I get distracted too, so ADHD is probably totally in the mix a little bit. You know what I mean? But just taking notes, and then the philosophy of always being a student. There's always something that you can learn to do a little bit better. You know what I mean? And there's going to be something that I can probably simplify, or is going to exist. They were like, listen, you don't need these pedals. It's just like one thing to get this sound. You're overcomplicating it, dude. And I love bringing that up. So I always have, what's the other philosophy? Strong opinions loosely held. That's how I do it in software engineering too. Like, my way is not the way that's like going to be the best way, and I totally understand that. But at some day, you're going to have to execute on the thing that you think is going to be the best. And I think, in my personal opinion, whatever you do, you can execute on, but iterate on it slightly every single time and kind of mess with it, push the boundaries of it a little bit. And all of my friends, I'm like, hey, can you be a little bit more constructive with this? And to answer your question, it's like, how do I get, like, how do I basically get to where I'm at, and like, how do I kind of like mold this, and how do I how did I get here? It's being very objectable and like kind of self-critical about like, what I have is probably, like, poo poo, like absolute dog, what, but there's probably going to come a day, and I need to be open of saying, listen, that person had an opinion on this, like, let me just kind of ask them some questions, and have a couple beers, or just sit down over a cup of coffee or whatever and be like, hey, this is what I have. What do you do? My name's Phrozen. Ooga booga. Not going to picture you naked, but I'm here and I'm vibing. So cheers.
I'm sorry. During that, I just heard Winnie the Pooh's voice go, I know the
my.
problem. The pedals are the wrong order. I just heard it in his voice.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, boy.
Well, it's really awesome that you're able to use VR and the people you know in that fashion. I've heard a lot of people mention to us that VR is a really good tool for learning things, whether it's languages, whether you want to pick up anything in video game design. You're in a video game, building stuff for video games is a great place for that. Music as well, for what you're doing, because the community is just very, very willing to teach you things they enjoy, just to see you enjoy the same thing.
Yeah, it's quite the platform, and I've heard VR chat being called multiple times a slippery slope for certain individuals, but I've also understood it as a it'll bring out the best in you if you're open for it, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's really honestly a really good platform to, like what you're saying, like learning languages, even during COVID, being an introvert wanting to be extroverted, can I work on that? Can I deal with an awkward situation? What do I do when it goes wrong? You know what I mean? Like, nothing's going to happen the way that you want. You're like, plan for the unexpected, pull the ripcord, have some sort of like a parachute. And yeah, like being able to kind of practice on this, yes, albeit at my comfort of my own home, it did get me to do it IRL. And that's a win, because I know I'm just going to keep trying to do it. And I only got it because of this platform. I mean, that's literally the long and short of it. You know what I mean?
So how has VR chat enabled you to do all this stuff that I ask you?
I mean, it's what we're doing right here, even on the podcast. You know what I mean? Like, I literally feel like, especially one of the reasons why I want to put on the forehead toaster here, I didn't want to do this on desktop, because I really wanted to kind of feel like I'm having a discussion with you guys, because I met you guys before, and I just really kind of want to sit and actually kind of chill and talk. So it enables that personalization of thinking like, listen, we're all, it's so crazy. I bring this up multiple times. We are all, I mean, minus you, Raptor, because I think you're on desktop, but it does, regardless, we're all in completely Yeah, we're all in completely different places right now, hundreds of miles away from each other, with, at least you and I with a forehead toaster on in our own safe place, and we're able to like communicate like this actively over the effing internet. Like, as a software engineer and just like being into technology, that still blows my mind. Like the appreciation of it. So it enables by allowing having a platform, or the platform allows us to have these very immediate, very quick kind of
Mm.
interactions. I feel bad personally about anybody that dances in VR because the latency's just not there yet. You know what I mean? And the day that it is, oh my gosh, this is going to get absolutely insane. Like fast dancing versus slow dancing and stuff like that. I don't know anything about dancing, but I could see like how latency would play into that. But it enables that, and I think the other thing is it allows the social aspect with people being able to create their own worlds and their own kind of interactions with it too, regardless of what you're into, right? So, if you just want a public world with a bunch of mirrors in it, cool, awesome. You can go in there and just be yourself. If you want to, that world was it No Time to Talk with the TWO or whatever else, just throwing people in front of random people. You're like, deal with it. You know what I mean? Or the Omega world, same thing. You know what I mean? It enables people to be extroverted and being social. And how could you say that's bad for society if they're using the platform in a positive way like that? So
Mm.
they could go the other way, of course, but it's down to your behavior with it. So yeah,
Mm.
how do I think it enabled it? It's the platform, it's the technology behind it. And as a software engineer, yeah, hats off to the nerds behind the scene. I see you guys. The engineers, DevOps, system architecture, scalability. I remember when VRchat used to go down for New Year's Eve, and I remember like hitting 20,000 concurrent user used to be a big thing. And now they got it to a point where scalability is like, it's completely elastic. Like they can expand, contract, and I'm hoping that they can feel that in their bills so it's not completely locked up on terms of like the maximum settings and stuff like that. But it is pretty spectacular if you think about it. Like video and voice, boys, like at the same time. Like it is 2025, folks. Like let's effing go. Oh my gosh.
Mm. Indeed. Now, with all of this said, have you ever tried to describe what you're doing in here to people outside of this, whether professionally or non-professionally? May I ask what you do here with a plastic potato, electric potato, which is strapped to your head? Oh, I'm here to interrupt your current video. Ask you a favor. Down in the description, down that way, is a link, metaversedegen.card.co, which you have a whole bunch of other places. If you wish to continue following us, we have a Twitter, which I run for us, which you get updates and other stuff and random thoughts from me. We have a Discord where Raptor, I, and the entire crew and all the other people we know will be over there hanging out. We game there fairly regularly or hang out in there, so feel free to go over that way and come chat with us. We'd love to meet you. We have a Spotify now, surprise. So if you wish to watch it there or listen to it there, it'll be there for you as well. Also, we have a Patreon, which we have a whole other show, which we haven't been keeping up with, but we're doing our best. But we have a whole other show there for you as well. We would like to give a huge thanks to some of our supporters over that way, which is Future Oracle, Aliquum, Niche, and Forbidden Zero, all of which we thank you very much for everything, and hopefully we'll see you around and you continue to enjoy the content. Enjoy the current video. Oh boy.
I like the electric potato. That's better than the forehead toaster.
Electric potato and the toaster.
I love that. It's so good. Sorry.
It's okay until you put the big TV up against your face. It's okay. It's just getting two of them at the same time, so you look at both screens at the same time. It's a bitch.
I got the electric potato because there was a YouTuber who made a taser potato, and just something about that stuck with me. That's where that came from.
Gotcha. I gotcha. I don't even know where a forehead toaster came from. I couldn't even tell you. I could not tell you. I take no credit on that, by the way. Zero credit on that. I can't remember. But to answer your question, like, yeah, I've definitely brought it up to multiple people. They kind of laugh. They're like, VR, like, what do you do? Like, they just like they picture like Ready Player One. I got like a Omni track. I'm strapped in from the ceiling, like hanging from my armpits, like an infant or something like that, in a bounce house. Like I don't know what they're trying to think about. Playing the ukulele like very tightly to my, like I don't know what they're trying to think but just like I always kind of bring them that kind of just kind of I don't know situation. Where like, listen, I'm not in a bounce house. I'm not hanging from my rafters. It's not nothing crazy. It's just the headset on and. Yeah, it's just audio. It's just like I'm playing, but I'm playing in my comfort of my house, but I'm playing for dozens of people, and they're like, "Oh, okay." So I feel like that breakdown, helps them kind of digest it. But you're totally right. There's a little bit of a shock and value, like VR. Like, how much of a nerd are you? I'm like, honestly, pretty big, but I digress.
Fair. I've only like asked the question because I find it interesting how different types of people respond to the whole VR and VR chat has a lot more going on than memes, Uganda Knuckles, and hose, I guess is one way to put it, from the One Aspen Gold video or whatever. But either way, like when the conversations I've had with people myself, like explaining what happens in here, like for example, SNR Labs and the crazy hologram animation thing going on, it's almost impossible to explain that you can do and see crazy stuff like that here in a platform with plastic and electronics strapped to your head. That thing is there, and trying to like relay that is difficult sometimes. I find it interesting to see how other people do it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point too. Like, the reaction I've gotten, like just saying like VR, like people, I feel people just think like, oh, it's like, the movie Clockwork Orange. Everybody else, am I that old?
Yep. Nope. I know.
You know the scene. He's seen when he's strapped back and he's got his eyelids like clamped open. He's like staring at a screen. He's like, "No, get me away from this!" Like, it's like they either have that reaction or they have like they strap the electric potato on their forehead and they're just like brainless and they're drooling on their. You know what I mean? Like, I have no life. That kind of stuff. And to debunk that is very difficult for like definitely for the non-technical user and somebody who's not privy into it. But I go back into like my days of like the DK1 that I said like early on, and that is like I came in here expecting nothing, but what I found was definitely overwhelming because I just wasn't privy into it. And like if I had to have an opinion about like a ramp up, I mean, the DK1 days, like if anybody else remembers like Oculus DK1 CV1 days, all we had was roller coaster simulators, and that was nauseating because again, you couldn't go back and forth. You just like strapped to this thing, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, get me out of here, like that kind of stuff. And I feel like maybe there could be a gray area there that could be like a ramp up into like an actual full, like a VR chat, like a chat platform. Because when you get dumped into here, like it is over, like all stimulus is like complete, like you lose track of time, like you lose sense of self. You're looking down into here, like it is over. What? You know what I mean? Like I can see somebody being like, how, what, like who does that? You know what I mean? And I feel like, maybe like there's some sort of mechanism or some sort of some sort of ramp. Like here's the step one in VR. Like here's a Disney ride because, we're talking about Winnie Pooh and Piglet. Maybe here's Indiana Jones, like something like here's a roller coaster ride. Then, the Tuscany demo for anybody that's OG knows the Tuscany demo. That was like, I was like, wow, like crazy shaders in that, like, yeah, it was wild. But that really gave me the idea. I'm like, okay, like this isn't just, roller coaster Tycoon 3, in VR, which would have been amazing, by the way. And I think it exists in some platforms.
Yeah.
But back then,
it actually is a world you can go see now. Well, something like a roller coaster builder. Yeah, Myro, I think it was Myro P is the one that made it. You can go to it. It's even, you can go to build a theme park and everything.
Well, see that, I mean, something like that, something simple. I remember playing Minecraft for the first time in VR, and they had like crazy plugins. You know what I mean? Like, and I had my mind blown on that. Like that was like my next thing outside of VR chat. It was playing Minecraft in VR. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going back to desktop. I'm like, this is so cool. I remember being so shit scared, like burrowing the first thing into a mountain and closing the stupid thing with a wooden door in survivor mode, and just hearing that stupid damn zombie bang on the door. I'm like, ah. And I had to close the game. I'm like, I can't do this. Yes, but way before Phasmophobia and like jump scare stuff, I was like, I can't do this. It's too real. And like you're looking back at that, I'm like, dude. My guy. You know what I mean? But something like that, like, we all kind of laugh at Minecraft at some point, but it's like it enabled so much like creativity. It's like Legos. I mean, you're building, you're surviving, so many different things. But like, it's a really good entrance point into VR because it's so basic. It's like a blocky little thing. You're like, okay, I kind of get this. It's kind of fun, whatever. Before VR chat's like, it's this. It's like you're playing. I mean, look at this world that we're in. Like, what? Like, this is crazy, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and there's way crazier worlds that are out there, like the audio sync worlds that could absolutely overstimulate somebody. And like the epilepsy warnings. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So, yeah, dude.
Indeed, on a point you made earlier, I always feel like VRChat has two games simultaneously, and one is, I want to say, Mirror Simulator, but it's sort of important. You make your first friends, you hang out with your friends all the time, maybe a few beers, you sit in front of a mirror, and hopefully before you go too far down the road where it becomes a problem, you slide in a new game plus, and then you start learning a skill or doing something and making worlds, making avatars, doing music, something, and the game feels so much different after that. Like if you just stay and looking at mirrors, hanging with your friends, there's only so much you could do. You can only drink and play pool in front of a mirror so many times before it gets boring. But when you start like doing something in the game that gives back, it feels like you're going in like you just beat the game, you went new game plus, and now the whole thing just feels different.
Oh, oh my gosh! If that's not a clip, like, dude, oh my gosh, I could not have said that better. Like, that's such a great point, Lion. Yeah, because like, no, really, I'm being serious, man. Like, that is such a great thing. That's such a beautiful thing to say. Yeah, seriously, it's like, you know, yeah, we make fun of the mirror drawers and everything else, and like, they're getting what they want out of it, out of the platform, whatever. But like, yeah, the second you do that plus that, extracurricular activity kind of stuff, like, oh yeah, I can play an instrument now. Like I could do this. I can add back. Like I can make someone's night like really cool by playing a couple songs and stuff like that. You kind of like reinvent the game for you a little bit, but also you go back into the homage of like why you got into VR chat, and that is incarnate to meet new people. And to your point, like you said about like the mirror dwellers and stuff like that, and like cliques and like groups and stuff like that, I one of the common things I always say, I'm like, y'all need to go out and just dump yourself in a public world and just deal with the craziness and meet brand new people, because people just like us started with the DK ones. They started with the Oculus Quest 1s and 2s. They're out there. They just don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, you're going to have to endure, some suck and like, squeaky kids. And like, thank you, by the way, VR chat devs. If you're listening to this about doing the 18 plus thing, hats off, 100%. Totally love it. Personal opinion. Just going to throw that in there. But I'm just saying, like, it's going to mitigate a lot of like, yeah, like, can we not deal with 12-year-olds? Like, I've gotten so many, I call it like, I feel like I'm having beers in a daycare sometimes. I'm like, why? What the heck is this? You know what I mean? Yeah, dude. Yeah, bro, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, Raptor. Tell me I'm wrong, dude. Tell me I'm wrong. Listen, tell me I'm wrong, right? You got to agree with that.
Don't worry, I'm just drunk babysitting your kids. Don't mind me. I'll just
Bro,
throw them in
seriously.
front of a mirror and sit back and drink a beer.
Yeah, I mean, to Lion's point, it's like, yeah, you just like, yes, you can only play pool and have a couple beers so long, and also do the same thing with a couple buddies in a public instance or even a group plus, and you get like these 13, 14-year-olds, which is totally on the, TOS for the game, and you're like, I really don't want to deal with this. And yes, of course, you can do like group pluses and stuff like that and like lock them out. But like, again, to like remove that and to meet new people, to your point again, to, relate that kind of information all the way over, it's like playing music for new people. It's like, yeah, like you're going to have to be uncomfortable with playing people in front of people that you don't know. And yeah, playing for your friends is awesome. I absolutely love it. I'm so comfortable with it. It's a great night every single time. But I always push myself to find, and you guys might laugh at this, and nothing wrong with Spooky Ghost and Black Cat, like if it's warranted or whatever, but I purposely put at least once every other time I get on VR, I'll join a public Black Cat instance. I go to the dungeon, and I jump on either the first floor stage or the stage upstairs, and I deadass will go there by myself. This is my goal. And the amount of people that I've met that are of quality, I should say, or other musicians, like I'll have like once every other time I'll meet like one person every like 3 hours or whatever else. I'm like, oh my gosh, and they'll join up on the open mic worlds and stuff like that. That's worth it. You know what I mean? But I have to go through the suck because there's no guidelines. There's no bumper, bowling pin bumpers on this game, to basically kind of weed out some of the stuff that you just don't want to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, nothing against the Young on Knuckles, because let's be honest, it's probably one of the biggest things VRchat, fortunately or unfortunately, had to deal with to get like the kind of boom that it did. But we are at a point of growth, and we're at a point of, okay, quality, and like we're also at a point of like appreciation of devotion and commitment into the platform. And I think some of the stuff that they're doing and implementing is like absolute S tier. So yeah, but I will say, boys, there is some gratification of every single time I do this black cat. I call it pub world hopping, and I purposely will do it by myself just to see how crazy it is, because it's sobering. It's sobering, folks, because it gets me out of my comfort zone. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And dealing with trolls playing for like 1 hour, 2 hours is so sobering to you. You're like, okay, this is the way it used to feel. Like, this is healthy. You know what I mean? And then, of course, the platform, like to what you're saying before, like how has this platform enabled you to be a better performer, that kind of stuff. I can jump out of a world and be like, hey guys, boy, do I have a story about this. Like, oh my gosh, I was playing, you know what I mean? And then I call him fairly or whatever. I'll call him the, lack of better words, like, refugees, like the good people that end up in a black cat that probably shouldn't be there. They just don't know what they're doing, older 20s, that kind of stuff, or whatever else, maybe play a musical instrument, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey, do you play, like, you said you played a guitar, can you play me something? You're like, serious? I'm like, 100% right now, man. It's just you and me. I'm like, somebody jumps in front of us, just block them. You're like, how do I do that? I'm like, I gotta show them how to block people. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so much better of a game because I know how to block people. And then it just snowballs into the next thing. And I'm like, dude, there's a whole world, multiple planets of people that want to do nothing but get on VR and play instruments or sing or whatever and have a really good time. And they'll be like, are you serious? Because I've been dealing with nothing but children every single time I've been on this game, that kind of stuff. Like, I heard that one example, but yeah, good stuff, man.
Fair. All right, trusted users, you have a mission. Adopt a newbie. You're going to go in public worlds now and bring some poor soul out of the public instances into something cool.
I completely condone this.
Just make sure you bring your beer to beer. Don't be okay. Just bring a beer to beer.
All right, little guy, I have the beer and the case of six packs. Come with me to see something really cool. Next thing you know, they turn into web developers and shader coders. What did you do? I'll go buy a mirror and beer. Now I'm here coding.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Seriously though, go bring some new people into some cooler stuff than the Ugandan Knuckles screaming gamer words at them. Dear Lord.
Yeah. I mean, but it's crazy to think, like, even right now when we're in this game, that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other people being like, can I just find like a normal person? Like, where are they? And it's like that kind of idea, that kind of like, planting that seed in everybody's head kind of instigates the behavior. Like, listen, I'm going to go in a public world. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. But like, how do I instigate? Like, how do we find these people? You know what I mean? And for me, it's making myself completely uncomfortable, dealing with trolls, dealing with people that just want to like yell in my microphone left in my left ear, and like me just, for me, I'm getting, I'll be selfish. It's more concentration playing. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can deal with anything. Like, I feel like literally like the Abominable Snowman right now. This is great. I'll come off of that and play a live set somewhere where there's nothing. I'm like, totally relaxed. Totally. I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? You know what I mean? But it's gonna take some like absolute, dig your heels in the sand as a phrase, euphemism, to go out there and you gotta find them, and they're out there. Like, I was a DK1 user, you know what I mean? Like, just, hey, how's it going? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just clicked on something that was popular, but people, to your point, like the whole mirror dweller stuff, like that, like I get that, and I don't want to demean that, because a lot of people, they're social anxiety, introverted, that kind of stuff, whatever they're going through, totally makes sense. But can you imagine, like, hey, like getting a little bit out of your comfort zone, or just trying to find other people outside of your group. I know people that have been in this game, I think you guys both do, that have not looked out of their circles for many, many, many years because they don't want to. They're like, oh, I found it. It's like, dude, you have an entire planet in front of you right now. And it's way bigger than what it was back in 2018, 2019, 2020. Like, you got to go out there and kind of endure the public worlds a little bit, you know? And that's part of the platform, like remembering why you're playing virtual reality chat, and that is to be dumped into a public place and strike up a conversation. It might go well, it might go terrible, but hey, you tried, and you might have a really great random funny ass discussion, or it might just be some random dude with a cowboy hat and a Halo avatar playing terrible music in a public black hat instance. But if that got you to open up to have a conversation or throw like an emoji or whatever else and instigate like a behavior, it worked, you know?
Well, I only gave the adopt a newbie thing because we all have had that one story. The reason why we all do what we do here in VRChat is some dude met us somewhere, told us a thing, we got excited, we got pulled on an adventure. That's generally how a lot of people got into their world building or their coding or their playing music like you. It is a common story we hear a lot. It's like, oh, I was on a black hat and I met a dude and they told me there are raves. There are raves in this game. The next thing you know, they're at raves and then they're DJing and now they're producing, playing shows in real life. We've all been here, us trusted users, people have been here a while hiding away in our own friends plus instances or group plus instances. We kind of forget one of us should kind of be that guide to the person who's then asking, like we did a long time ago, this is boring, what do? I just talked with like 4 trash cans with eyeballs saying something about do I know the way again. I can't deal with this anymore. What is here to do? Be that person to go, boy, do I have an adventure for you. That's all. Be that guy for someone else, because that's going to leave for example, for most of us, it left a lasting impression that kept us here. Come on.
Yeah, I feel like if you got like 1%, just 1% of your friends that do that, oh my gosh, you'd know like 50 new people by the end of 2025, dude. It's crazy. Like, you know, it's just, again, I call it enduring the suck or going through the gauntlet. I've called public black cats the gauntlet multiple times. But like that's tell me I'm wrong though.
The gauntlet babysit beer place where everybody wants to take your kids.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. But it's like, yeah, like they're, it's such a double-edged sword. It's like, it's 50-50. It's like you get what you put in, you get what you put in. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, trouble with words tonight. But yeah, like, it's all about expanding. Like you have a beautiful platform in front of you. Like, yeah, meet some new people. Change your perspective. Like I've also tried to like change like when I can of like when I actually get on the platform too, because if they're Australian versus ESTers in the United States. You really got to play with some time zones. And sometimes where I've gotten on, I'm like, I'll get on this time just to see what's going on, just randomly, you know what I mean, or whatever. And I've met some absolutely cool friggin' Australians, you know what I mean? And like when they get fired up, it's some weird time over here. I'm like, oh man. They're like, oh my gosh, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, nah, probably not, because I'll be sleeping. But add me on Discord. Maybe like one day I can like do this like once a month. I could just like kind of stretch myself or whatever else. And there are a couple of Australians. They're like, yo, Phrozen, where are you? I'm like, I'm getting on. I got this Saturday. I could, not do anything on Sunday or whatever else. And yeah, I'll see y'all or whatever. But same thing with Tokyo. Same thing with, oh my gosh, it wasn't even New Zealand. What the heck am I talking about? I don't know. Just anywhere that's not the Americas. Europe, going all the way across the darn globe, all the way to Japan, basically. You know what I mean? Like, you got to play with your time zones. And to your point, like, adopt, or have a foster child, or whatever else. You got to do that. Like, get a group of you. Like, I feel like it's so much easier to convince my friends to do this with me rather than them do it by themselves. Because it is. Because you, at the very bare minimum, you have somebody to talk to. You can kind of, like, break the ice and, like, oh, my gosh, here's another, somebody, yelling expletives or whatever else. Well, okay, block, do. It's really difficult. It's really difficult to do it by yourself, solo, definitely playing music in a place that's definitely not known for open mics. But you got to put yourself out there and like hopefully your awkwardness that you're giving out, somebody be like, dude, this random dude's playing music in a public world. Like, what? Excuse me? Like, what the heck? Like, do other people do? Like, you're instigating a bunch of questions in their heads. And, like, more often than not, it goes into, like, actually really good questions. Of course, you're going to have the trolls. Of course, you're going to have the trolls. You're going to meet some really bad people, blah, blah, blah. But, like, knowing that going in, you're like, I'm built out of iron ignorance. You know, I'm a fortress right now. You know what I mean? I cannot be bothered. I'm gonna hit one of those 2 stages. You know what I mean? And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I did this last week. Met 4 new friends. Like, it's getting more popular that people are like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing?" Like, now they're like following me around to a couple like open mics. Now they're like, "Let me know when you're on." You know, like add me on Discord and stuff like that. I'm like, "Abso-freaking-lutely." You know, like you got to boy, like to your point, boy, are we gonna go on an adventure, right?
Yeah. Well, now you're that person from someone else, bringing them out from the black hat, listening to kids scream, and some drunk dude say something about Japanese spaghetti, and then bring him from there straight into something a lot cooler.
Yeah, yeah, buddy, hell yeah.
I always say that because that's a true story. VRChat. We were at a fur lounge, and this dude was ranting about something about ramen, and a dude goes up and says, "Oh, you mean Japanese spaghetti?" And he goes, "No," and he gets angry, like really, really angry. And then one person becomes 2, and then I join in, and then Raptor joins in, and then everyone else joins in. This dude is just having a freak out in the middle of a thing about how it's...
This guy's drunker than a skunk. Drunker than a fucking skunk. And line finally goes up to the guy and goes, "I will not say it's Japanese spaghetti no more." All of a sudden, somebody else comes up to him. He goes, "Thank you. I appreciate it." And all of a sudden, slaps him again with the same fucking thing. And he just falls back going, "Fuck me." It was fucking
that's
this
brilliant.
went on for an hour or so. It was
That's
nuts.
brilliant.
It went on for freaking an hour.
Listen, you can't win them all, I guess. You know what I mean? But Japanese spaghetti for ramen noodles is absolutely great. That's me. I'm taking electric potato and I'm taking Japanese spaghetti from this. You know what I mean? Like that.
I don't take ownership of Japanese spaghetti. I heard someone else say it and thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Hey man, that's fine.
We just it was hilarious.
Well, I will say, Phrozen, thank you very much for doing this. It's been an absolute honor getting to meet you and hear your tales, so thank you.
Honored. Very much so.
Hmm.
Very much so.
Yeah, you guys are a hoot, man. Yeah, 100%. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, it's I'm hoping 2025 is going to be again, it's a new year to learn new things, right? So, you know, be comfortable with being uncomfortable is my only I guess my closer from this, you know what I mean? Like if you're comfortable all the time, you're not learning much, and you got to get yourself out there to, you know, learn and grow a little bit. So, I plan on doing that. So, if I got the cajon or the freaking calzone at this point, I'd be freaking happy about it.
Oh, so if the audience wishes to reach out and find you, where would they find you?
So, a terrible Instagram name called It's Me Frozen. I thought I was creative. It's not creative. It's very confusing. I might have to change that soon, but I'm gonna keep it for now. So it's Me Frozen, all one word, all lower caps. I'm on Instagram. I post there just like what's kind of going on. I usually do like a weekend. I call it bender, where I'll get on Friday and Saturday. But this week, I actually took the time off last year to do this week of every single night I was gonna be on VR and playing. I was really gonna kind of drill it in, like, dude, your fingers are gonna bleed, man. Like you gotta get this through and like see what it feels like. Again, gotta get out of my comfort zone and kind of really appreciate those nights where I'm like, dude, it's the first time in 2 weeks. Like, dude, you have nothing to complain about, man. Remember that one time you did 5 times? But yeah, I post there to kind of let everybody know what's kind of going on, and then on Discord it's Frozen _. So,
Okay.
I think it might be _Frozen or Frozen _ my whatever the reverse of my _ Frozen. Yeah, _PHRZEN. You can add me on Discord 100%. So if y'all are interested in stuff like that. Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Well, we'll put those in the description for you right down below. And before I forget these 2 questions, where did your name come from and why to use it?
So I'll give you the short version because I know we're wrapping up.
Oh,
I thought I was
long.
super creative. No, it's fine. I thought I was super creative when I was like 14 one day, and whatever. It was Frozen, and then a nerd. It's a Linux permissions for a folder. Let's put it that way. It might be 777. It might be 755. For the real nerds that understand the chmod permissions on a Linux folder, you'll understand that. And that was like my Linux phase of my. I was doing a bunch of like whatever. I was a effing nerd, dude. And I thought Frozen was kind of nice because you can freeze a directory by messing up your permissions pretty bad. You can literally just like, oh wow, there it goes. It's like sudo rmrf, like star whatever. Oh, again, another Linux I'm sorry, another nerd would totally be like, oh my gosh, this guy's a total geek. But you can freeze a directory to the point where you can't even access it unless you know how to mess that up. So I was like, oh, Frozen, but like, I don't know, let's get creative with the phonetics. I was like, ph. Cool, right? It's cool. And then I actually got in the VR chat with a different username, which I'm not even going to mention because it's not appropriate. And then I had to change it. I changed it once time before. It had my name in it. I was like, that's corny. And then I had that email from Google being like, hey, we're going to delete this email account that you made like 200 million years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, I remember that. I remember doing that. I remember being 14 and Ooga Booga or whatever. I'm like, oh, that'd be a great username. I don't think it's a great username because it's just like nothing but Frozen Disney references. Like, you gotta do Let It Go. Ah! I'm like, one of these days, I'm gonna learn that effing song and be like, there's the meme. But I've never gotten myself to be like, okay, dude, we're gonna study this song like you did Steve Wilson's voice. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the amount of hours I would sink into that kind of like joke or whatever? But that's where I got the name. It was totally a nerd reference, and then freaking Disney had to create a freaking movie 1,000 years later in the future, and I'm like, ugh. But whatever. Yeah.
All right, I have 2 questions now. Do you want to build a snowman?
Oh God. Hey Siri, can you delete VRChat? Hey Google, light my house on fire. Thanks. Thanks, man. Thanks, dude.
You're welcome. And the avatar you're in, where did you get it? Why do you use it? Is there anything about it that means anything to you?
I do the cowboy hat because I do a bunch of country songs. I saw this randomly one night. I was world hopping again. Another random dude with a quest on had his cloning on. I'm like, can I take your avatar? He's like, I don't ever care. F it. It's public. I'm like, bet, dude. Boop. Like that's all I had. And it's quest. It's optimized. I might change it. But everybody can see it regardless of the hardware. So I'm trying to find like, other avatars that just everybody can see. It's some sort of like diminished quality. And I feel like again. And the popular thing now is like, I got this 250 megabyte avatar with 9,000 trillion polygons and like, 14 different pairs of shoes. It's got like 13 different hairstyles. I'm like, yeah, don't need that. Give me the Halo avatar with a cowboy hat. And like, I just go for optimization. I had nobody ever complain about, me saving a couple of their frames. So, that's basically it too. Plus, it's Toy Story. You got a friend in me. That's like Ray Charles if he had to do that song a little bit. You know what I mean? Maybe that should be my next song, actually. You got a friend in me. Dude, I should do some Toy Story, man. Shit, that's a great idea.
You should. You have that's your idea.
No, it's your idea. I'm just gonna give it to you because you asked me about my avatar and I had to think about it. It's your idea. I'm stealing it now. Just like electric potato.
Go ahead, steal your own idea. Good idea. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much again, Frozen, for your time. It's been an absolute honor. And this is the point we give you, the audience member, a question. So I have a question for you. What flavor calzone do you think you'll sound better as an instrument? I would like to know. I'm partial to straight sauce just to hear the squish. Alrighty, Raptor, you know the thing.
You got it. No matter what, if you see Frozen on stage and he's wearing a Winnie the Pooh with his avatar and playing a leaf blower and smacking a croissant or whatever food that he can make get a squish sound or a hard beat sound, I want to hear about it. You can look me up because I want to be there just to see him humming away and singing away, playing his leaf blower and with a little bit put up a country sign behind it. You have a good one, folks. We'll talk to you later.
I want to see an entire room filled with piglets at his next show.